Hey everyone, Luke here. Now, as you can see, no Dr. Stone this week, not even talking about one of the volumes this week. That's because Dr. Stone is taking an extended break, so next week, surprisingly on Monday, so yeah, we won't get the chapters on Sunday, we'll get the chapters on Monday because it's going to be the closing ceremony of the Olympics on Sunday, so they're just moving it to Monday. So that chapter will come out a little bit later on that week, but fortunately got that week off next week, so I'm proud of that. But after next week's chapter, there'll be another break on Shonen Jump, and fortunately on that week, I will be on holiday, so won't miss out on anything. Once I get back off my holiday, I'll go right back to doing the chapter review for chapter 207, because I know chapter 206 is the one next week. But for now, I'm going to be talking about some other series that I read in Weekly Shonen Jump. This is sort of like a test drive to eventually, when Dr. Stone does end, what other series can I pick up? Now, I'm going to be talking about three series this week, which are going to be Red Hood, Mission Yotsuko Family, and Ayakashi Triangle. So sort of like giving like a mini review of each of the chapters, seeing how that goes and where we go with them, and hopefully you guys enjoy this and enjoy my opinions on them. So without further ado, now before we actually get started on the chapters, I just want to say one thing. I am caught up on Black Clover itself. Got caught up in it thanks to Fuboyo, or massive Black Clover fan as he's known on Twitter, which obviously you can tell that he really wanted me to read Black Clover and get caught up on it. And in my opinion, it's a good series, but it's not my cup of tea. To me personally, it's more sit back, relax, don't think too deeply about the series kind of thing. I mean, it is good. I do enjoy the series, but I'm just not as overly hyped about it. To me, it's basically the modern day Dragon Ball, to what a lot of other people say about it. Like, it's just pretty. The fights are just pretty beam fights, except now the magic beam fights. But the characters I do really enjoy. Yami, Yuno, Charmy, Julius. I enjoy those characters. Nero as well. But aside from them, and aside from a few moments in the story, it's not really wowed me in the same way that other series have wowed me. Now, with this chapter, it was an alright chapter. I'll talk briefly about the Black Clover chapter this week. It was alright. It finally gave what people have been expecting for a while. Noelle to finally confess to her feelings to Asta, which was something that a lot of people were anticipating, and I was like, yeah, it took you long enough to figure that out, Noelle. But that was really all that there was to this chapter, in my opinion. It was an alright chapter, just not anything like, holy crap, that was amazing. Like, unless something like, I don't know, Asta turns out to be a prince from the Diamond Kingdom, unless something like that happens, Black Clover is just kind of like, it's alright for me. Not my cup of tea, and not something that I will get overly invested in like some other people are. I think that's mainly just because I've read other series like Monster and 20th Century Boys and Dr. Stone, who have much more broader scopes in their series, and tend to be stuff that appeal to me as I've grown and matured and discovered other series. But Black Clover, it's alright. It's just not my cup of tea, but I can see why people enjoy it. So that was all I wanted to say on Black Clover. Now let's talk about some Mission Yotsuko Family. Alright, so for Mission Yotsuko Family this week, it's chapter 92, or Mission 2, that chapters are named after. Which, by the way, guys, go and read Mission Yotsuko Family. Like, seriously, go and read it. People are saying like, oh yeah, it's just another Spy X Family. No, it's not another Spy X Family series, because Spy X Family has gone in its own direction in the same way that Mission Yotsuko Family has gone in its own direction, and Mission Yotsuko Family kind of like has a structure to it, whereas Spy X Family, while it's good with slice of life aspects, it can kind of be a bit all over the place about what each chapter is actually focusing on. It doesn't really have a focus. It's kind of like all over the place at times. So Mission Yotsuko Family definitely has some structure to it. Like right now we're in the silver entrance exam arc, where Taiyo is basically competing to actually get his silver license, silver spy license at the moment. But to do that, he has to get past 3 people, 3 examiners, and luckily for him, the 3 examiners are people of the Yotsukawa family, which he is married into. So the first person that he's had to go up against is Shinso, whose basic exam is like, just tag me. That's basically what it's, just tag me. But the problem is that Shinso is a weapons expert and is very quick on his feet, so it's going to be very hard for him to get tagged, as it's as it says. If I can actually find the point, let me find it. Yeah, so Shinzo is timid by nature, but when forced to face his fears, which is the name of the chapter, his instincts kicks in and it shows him a path to destroying it, and overcomes that fear. So basically, when Shinzo's in the zone, that's when his instinct kicks in, and he's like, okay, I can find a path clearly around all of this. But the problem is that Shinzo's biggest fear in of itself is that his biggest fear is family, basically harming family. And since Taiyu is essentially part of his family at the moment, like Taiyu's basically a Yotsukura, even though he keeps his maiden name, in that Shinzo has a hard time of actually attempting to attack Taiyu, because Taiyu's basically said, yeah, let's just make this to a match to the death Shinzo, because that's how Taiyu knows his weakness, because calling it a match to the death is basically Taiyu saying, if you want to stop me, you're going to have to kill me, Shinzo, knowing that Shinzo will not kill him. And that's pretty interesting way, and pretty elaborate way of Taiyu to actually get around this exam and actually figure out a way to actually tag Shinzo. And of course, Mission Yotsukawa family just exceeds in the art. I mean, come on guys, just look at some of that art there, like with the clash between Taiyu and Shinzo. That is pretty damn awesome. And also, Taiyu has a gun that becomes a sword, and it's a stun gun. If that doesn't sell you on Mission Yotsukawa family, I don't know what will. But yeah, like I said before, Shinzo's greatest weakness is family. Shinzo's blooming, which is basically the power system in Mission Yotsukawa family. All the Yotsukawa family have an ability called blooming, which basically when activated, it grants them a certain superpower. So like Taiyu's one is hardening, because his wife in the series, Mutsumi, who's the main female, gave him her blood to actually activate his blooming. So his is hardening, which is basically makes his skin rock hard, armament hockey style. And Shinzu's blooming is basically what was his blooming? Let me go on the wiki to actually find out what it is. What his blooming mission. Yotsukawa. So, oh, here we go. It's coming up now. So, what was his what was his blooming blooming? Oh, come on! Don't do this to me. So let me find it. Shinzo, there we go. So we'll find out what his blooming is. Oh crap, it doesn't say it here. Sorry guys, I'm just going to have to go... Oh, flaming Nora. The wiki in this is just annoying sometimes when you're having to do it on your phone. Let's find it. Sorry guys, let me cut away and come back once I've actually found it. Okay, sorry about that. So I found what Shinzo's blooming is, and it is Destroy, which basically allows him to destroy things at a cellular level. That's basically the overall ability of the power, and The ability was created due to Shinsu's fear of people he loves getting hurt, so he used all of his senses to find out how something dangerous works or can be used, and its weak points. So that's basically the gist of his power. It's like he was so afraid of actually hurting people that he was like, okay, my power will be the power to like find out about something on a cellular level and figure out like, okay, what's the way I can destroy this, or how can I avoid this, or work around this problem. So that was what his power was. But unfortunately, his biggest fear at the moment is family, and there's not anything that he would do to harm family, which goes back to the Mission Yotsuko Frontlines assault arc, where that came into effect before his blooming actually activated. But unfortunately for Shinso, because of his weakness and because Taiyo actually found out the weakness of him, Taiyo was able to tag him and pass the first round of the exam, which Shinso congratulates him on for making it through this first stage, and he beat him. And they say, I said this is a fight to the death, but I was the one who wasn't prepared for that. So okay, so it was Shinsu who said, Taiyo, let's fight to the death. But of course he wasn't prepared for that because he knew that Taiyo was family. And of course Taiyo ends it up by basically wrapping Shinso in spiderweb, so that everyone else can basically tag Shinso at that point. And he's like, no. But of course, of the 342 examinees, 68 of them passed. And of course, the next test is Futaba. By the way, Futaba, best character in the series, fight me. So she's the second examiner, and it looks like she's prepared some sort of like taste test for them, which, knowing Futaba, that will be the case. So pretty good chapter we got. We got the fight between Shinsu and Taiyo, and how it all culminated in what Shinsu's biggest fear is, which kind of calls back to what Taiyo's fear is. And it's like the fear, they kind of have a connection there, because Taiyo's scared of losing family because he already lost his original family in a car crash, and now he has the Yotsukawa family as kind of like his family now, and he's scared of losing them again. So they kind of have that connection going with them, which was a nice character moment between them. Shinsu being gracious in defeat, and Futaba being the next examinee, so looking forward to find out what her exam will be. But for now, let's move on to talking about Ayakashi Triangle. Okay, now for those of you who don't know what Ayakashi Triangle is, because it's not on the Fizz app, you have to actually go on the Fizz website to actually read it. Basically, screwball and ninja comedy type series that has a lot of battle elements, and basically the main character was turned into a girl, and now he's in bed with the female lead. Yeah, this is basically where the chapter is. So, yeah, Suzu and Mutsumi, I think that's how you pronounce his name. So, basically, Masuri, that's it, Masuri. So basically they're in bed together, and Suzu has to do exercises, otherwise she can't get to sleep, which leads to some wacky antics with obviously Suzu doing her stretches, but Masuri having huge you-know-whats, kind of like getting a little bit embarrassed there, and using her armpits, and then stretching her thighs as well. But of course, all of this turns out to be a wacky dream that they're having, which, okay, that did make me laugh. This series, the reason why I love it so much is that it never fails to bring a smile to my face, and just puts me in a good mood, despite how wacky and insane it can be. But one thing that's happened recently, which I'm really hoping that happen, is that the two best friends of these two, Lucy and Yayu, I think that's how you pronounce the name. Well, Yayu found out what was actually going on, and Lucy has yet to find out. And this chapter is all about them like deciding like maybe it should be a good idea for them to actually tell their friends, like have no secrets between them, which I found that to be a very, very touching moment between these two, like deciding like, hey, maybe we should tell our friends like what is actually going on, that I turned into a girl and everything. And this is kind of like a big moment for Matsura as a character, because he wants to turn back into a guy, but at the same time he's kind of like gotten used to like life as a girl, and he's kind of like wondering like, maybe I should just say as a girl, but yeah, because it's obvious that him and Suzu have feelings for each other. They're kind of like wondering like, can we still have like a romantic relationship even though that I'm a girl? Which yeah, you can, Matsuri, you can, and Suzu, and this is where they're like, it's no good for us to be doing things like that. It's basically sharing a bed together because he's still a guy after all. But Suzu doesn't even care. And they're like, you want to tell, yeah, you want to tell, you didn't want to tell Yaoyu that you were a guy, right? And then you said you might be more suited to being a girl, so I was thinking about it. You have a girl's body, but I didn't know how you really felt. I thought that you might have had a change of heart. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I used this body as a test. But then Matsuri, that Suzu was the one who was saying all of that, like trying to express how she was truly feeling about Matsuri's situation. But Matsuri was like, yeah, maybe I've gotten so used to being a girl that I've lost sight of the fact that I am really a guy. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to tell Lucy and Yaoyu all about how I turned into a girl. They're my friends, so I want to make things right. Although, honestly, I'm scared about how they might react. Yeah, I'm not bloody surprised that you would be scared at this point. But, of course, Suzu being there for him, being very supportive of him, is like, just, you have me on my shoulder. I will help you in whatever way, and if I need to go through with this with you, then I'll go through with this with you, which is a nice touching moment. This chapter is quite heartwarming. It's just them having a nice conversation. Not really much going on in terms of like actual plot. It's just them having a nice conversation, figure out like what they're going to do about their relationship and how they're going to tell their friends about what's actually been going on. Because now it seems like the friends are actually going to start getting involved and start developing powers of their own, which is something that I really want to see. Kind of like akin to like when Orihime and Chad found out about the hollows in Bleach and they sort of like developed powers of their own. I'm kind of hoping that the two best friends will actually develop powers of their own and kind of be brought into the forefront and actually get some fighting action themselves, because there have been decent fights in Ayakashi Triangle that I've really liked, of like the combat style that's actually been going on, and the characters are just hilarious. Rayo being like one of my favourite characters in the series, and also Gaku, I think that's how you pronounce it. Basically, he's a combination of Urahara from Bleach, because he has like the shady nature about him, but also Ichibei, because his power is like whatever he draws can manifest into reality. So he's kind of like a combination of those two characters, and I love him. Gakuka, I literally cannot pronounce his name, but anyway, the chapter ends with them actually telling Yayu about everything, and her being amazingly accepted for it, like not even caring the fact that he's a guy. It's like, listen, you've been through so much, and even though you were probably a guy before, you are still Matsuri. You are still Matsuri, the female that I know. Which, quite nice touch in there, that the friend is actually accepting it and is actually okay with it. But of course, Lucy is into UFOs, so she obviously thinks it's all UFOs, but no, Lucy, you are eventually going to find out exactly what is going on, and you're going to be like, oh crap, you weren't actually kidding. So, not really much to say about that chapter. Just a lot of it, just quite nice moment, really chilled out, relaxed moment with a few goofball comedy moments. So, let's talk about one of the up-and-coming stars of Shonen Jump, Red Hood. Now, I think even though Red Hood is a new series, it's only 5 chapters in, it's just exploded on the internet, and I think part of the appeal of that is just that it just has a broad appeal to it, because it has elements of Grimm's fairy tales, which a lot of people like, and it's kind of like getting a what people call Finland Saga vibe, which I've not read Finland Saga, so I'm just going off what people say. But yeah, I'm really enjoying the series, and I love the fact that the author right about it said this is going to be in parts. So this is part 1, basically dealing with the werewolves and actually taking care of the werewolves that are manifesting in this world. So we have Fei Lu, who is the main character of the series, and the I am being told by the red-hooded hunter that's come to help him out to basically run and get away from these werewolves, but with his villager and with his hamlet who he's sworn to protect. But but of course the werewolf is having none of that, as the Red Riding Hood person is saying, I don't care why you're here, all werewolves must die. And a lot of people are thinking like maybe the Hunters Guild that Fairloo wants to join is actually going to turn out to be the bad guys, and maybe the monsters are actually the ones that are actually the good guys. Now that would be an interesting twist if it's like the group that the protagonist is actually going to be a part of is actually the main bad guys. And a lot of people are saying like, because the werewolves can turn into humans in this series, so maybe the leader of the Hunters Guild is the main werewolf that's actually being fought in this chapter, because the werewolf actually says, if I can actually get to the panel, let me go to it. Yeah, here it is, where this werewolf, like, who's a big Goliath, who's the father of the werewolves that Fairloo and the Red Riding Hood Guild defeated in the previous chapters. This werewolf goes, "Oh, so it was you, young peach-coloured boy. Fairloo, was it? I can smell them on you. The last wimps of my son's soul lingering about you. Dudu's regrets in particular cling to your spirit. Proof of a warrior." And Fairloo is just like, look, if you're going to take revenge for family, the same goes for me. I'll take you on. And he's ready to prepare to fight this beast, because he reckons that this werewolf, like, wants to take revenge on him for killing his family. Like, well, I want to take revenge on you for attacking my family as well. But the werewolf is like, you face me with that simple farming tool, which is a rake. Bravo, I like you, boy. Killing a werewolf at your tender age is no small feat. Worry not. Out of respect for your bravery, I will refrain from eating you from now. Instead, let me wait until you are a warrior grown. I'll look forward to savouring the taste of your blood then. And how many times has a villain done that, when they've said like, look, I'm not going to kill you now because you're not worth it. Just get stronger and then I'll kill you. Like, Eisen did that. Lewis in Promised Neverland did that. And now this guy honestly has Lewis vibes to him from Promised Neverland, now that I think about it. Like, yeah, this is the one that I'm going to savour the most, so get stronger and come and fight me. That's basically what he's saying, which is what Lewis said in the Promised Neverland. But of course, as the werewolf escapes, the witch that he was with, which ironically is called Cinderella, whatever, we'll just go with it, sends a little present down to Fairloo and basically blows up his hamlet, like basically blows up the fortress that he was willing to protect. So basically, in his and the Red Hooded characters' eyes, this mission was a failure, because the whole point of the mission was to protect the hamlet, and now that is gone, and everyone in the hamlet is kind of like going their separate ways, as it says here. With their homes burnt to the ground, the villagers had nowhere left to go. One by one, they left to find new homes in other places, and that was the end of the hamlet I swore to protect. At this point, Fairloo has a mental breakdown about the whole situation before he gets back up on his feet. He's like, no, I have to go. Take me to the Hunters Guild. So basically, next chapter we'll finally find out what this whole Hunters Guild is like, what its whole structure is, and and how it all functions. And I'm hoping, similar to what happens in Mission Yotsuko Family, where Taiyu has to take the test in order to progress through the ranks of the spies, I'm hoping there's like a Hunter x Hunter exam style test that takes up a really long time and is really elaborate and complex, that Fairloo has to go through in order to prove his worth to join the Hunters Guild. Because being a hunter, as we've seen in Hunter x Hunter, is no easy task, and this is obviously giving me vibes of Hunter x Hunter in a way, and maybe we will actually get the chance to actually see a Hunters Guild style entrance exam, whatever tests that will pertain. I have no idea, and I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, like I said, the series itself has a lot of appeal, has a lot of elements of Grimm's fairy tales that are coming out, where basically monsters from various mythologies are alive in this world. So maybe part 2 will focus on vampires, part 3 will focus on mummies. We just don't know where the series can go at this point, and obviously a lot of people are speculating that the Hunters Guild might actually be the bad guys themselves, maybe even led by the werewolf that we've seen in this chapter. So yeah, those were my three picks for this week of chapters of the week. Mischievous Crow Family obviously came out on top just because of the fact that we got such a strong connection between Tayo and Shinzo, and we got like pretty intense action of like, is Tayo actually gonna pass this exam, pass this portion of the exam in this chapter? And it was really clever how he kind of used Shinzu's fear, but also love for his family against him to actually get past that exam. And I'm really looking forward to finding out what Futaga's exam is actually going to be. So yeah, that was the three chapters I wanted to talk about. So we'll like do a little bit of an experiment, mini reviews to kind of tide you over before we talk about Dr. Stone next week. But anyway, guys, let me know down below what your favourite chapters were this week. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. And this will be Lasher Luke signing off. Later, guys.